Did you know the ocean is very big? Well, I would hope so, because the ocean is so big there is bound to be some pretty crazy shit down there. So let us take a look at some of the discoveries we have found in the ocean.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water.
Ranging from millions in emeralds, exploded stars, and ancient computers. Much like the Titanic, the RMS Republic was labeled unsinkable and crashed off the coast of Nantucket on January 24th, 1909. Although you probably won't see many billionaires in submarines at the crash site of the RMS Republic, you may see $3 million worth of gold belonging to the Tsar of Russia. See, on a cold New York afternoon around 3 p.m. on a Friday in 1909, the RMS Republic outbound to Mediterranean ports departed. The next day, there was a dense fog that led the RMS Republic to collide with the SS Florida. After this, the RMS Republic would sink, killing 6 people and another 1,500 to be rescued. Since none of the cargo survived, there began rumors of millions of U.S. Navy payroll on board the ship and a 5-ton shipment of gold loaned to the Tsar of Russia. In 1987, a man named Martin Byerly, who no shit wears a eye patch, would discover the RMS Republic, but none of the rumored cargo. Later in 1987, Byerly would fund a $2.5 million expedition to search for the missing cargo. They would return with only some wine bottles and a toilet. This loss would bankrupt Byerly and force him to sell his home and move in with the in-laws. He would go on to separate with his wife and then was convicted of voluntary manslaughter. 2 things. What the fuck does voluntary manslaughter mean? Like, isn't that just attempted murder? And also, I have no idea why or who he did this to. With all of that aside, we still do not know if there was actually that much gold on the RMS Republic. Now, this one's not technically a discovery, but when I was first researching it, I thought it was, so keep that in mind. In 2010, a man named Jay Miskovich was in Key West, Florida, and purchased a map and pottery shard from a man named Mark Cunningham. Miskovich would follow the map to a location 40 miles off the coast of Florida into international water. While searching the location, he claimed to have found the wreck of a 17th century Spanish galleon and the seaboard littered with emeralds. Miskovich would go on to start a company called Emerald Reef LLC and buy a boat to transfer the amount of emeralds he had found, and would state that each trip would net him $10 to $20 million worth of emeralds. This would attract investors to his company like EDP to Cupcakes. And since there were no proven wreck or diving site, the ownership of the site would become disputed, and all of this would lead to Miskovich's story becoming very popular and even landing him on an episode of 60 Minutes. Then, in 2012, his story would suffer a major blow when 2 European gemology labs would test the emeralds and find they had been coated in modern-day epoxy. This would result in his investors pulling out. Miskovich, now in debt and labeled a liar, would end his life in October 2013. The Yonaguni Monument is an underwater rock structure that is 165 feet long and 65 feet wide. Would make you think it was a ziggurat from a rock, except that it was discovered in the 1980s off the coast of the Yonaguni Island in Japan. The monument, which was first discovered by a scuba diver, is a bit of a controversy because some people believe it could be from an ancient city. Because of the straight lines and what appears to be carvings, there are also more structures nearby, suggesting an ancient city and being 5,000 years old, belonging to the Mu, or Lemuria. Others believe that the monument was created by underwater currents and is made of a singular rock and not distinct blocks. They also dispute the carvings to be scratches, but ultimately we do not know how the Yonaguni Monument was formed. A long time ago, before any of us were born, a star exploded and pieces of it landed in the Indian Ocean. When a star explodes, all of its material erupts into surrounding space. Some of that material may travel through our own solar system, which it did. A team of astronomers from the Australian National University in 2020 discovered traces of radioactive iron isotopes in 5 soil samples collected from the Indian Ocean. The iron isotope, also known as iron-60, is produced in stars and can only be found in cosmic rays and not naturally produced on Earth. The researchers believe these particles were deposited on Earth 33,000 years ago. Apparently this is pretty common, and there have been other discoveries of exploded stars in the ocean. In the early 1900s, Captain Dimitrios Kontos and a crew of sponge divers from Simi Island discovered the Antikythera Wreck and recovered multiple artifacts. The Antikythera Wreck was the wreck of a Roman cargo ship and was found at a depth of 148 feet off Point Glyphadia on the Greek island of Antikythera. The team recovered many artifacts like bronze, marble pottery, unique glassware, jewelry, coins, and the mechanism. The mechanism was considered too complex to have been constructed during the same period as everything else found on the ship. Until a German philosopher Albert Rehm became interested in the mechanism, he thought that it was an astronomical calculator. The quality and complexity of the mechanism suggests it was built in the late 2nd century BC, or the early 1st century BC. The machine would allow you to see the position of different astronomical locations at any day, month, or year. There have been many efforts to recreate the device in the last century, but we still haven't been able to since only a third of the mechanism survived. In 2021, scientists from UCL were able to recreate 1/3 of the machine. Well, that's all, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.